Hey guys, how you doing? Um, Most people, well, I don't know about most people. I think it's easy to watch Theo Von during his show and think he's a bit of an idiot sometimes. But he was sitting there the other day talking with a psychiatrist, and um, it was very interesting what came up because they were talking about trauma and how he deals with it, how he took a lot of drugs to cover up the trauma and things like this. And I was thinking about it quite deeply, and especially how it relates to, well, I saw a shrink when I was in my 20s, early 30s, and bad breakup with a girlfriend and stuff like that. And he kind of got into the idea that you use excessive, because he's like, do you take drugs? And I'm like, no. And I'd have a couple of beers or whatever, but nothing crazy. And so he's like, well, you're using exercise and the endorphins from it as a band-aid. Like, that's your drug of choice, right? To cover up the pain, you do excessive exercise, which creates the endorphins, and that acts as a band-aid to cover your negative feelings. And so he made me wear a heart rate monitor a lot. And hey guys, and so he forbid me from doing high heart rate exercise, and that meant that I couldn't use the endorphins as a band-aid to cover up the hurt that I was feeling, and that would allow the hurt to come to the surface for me to be able to process it and stuff like that. And so Theo the other day was talking about, the psychiatrist said to him, he said, well, what would it be like? Because Theo was like, well, I think that I'm choosing to continue to hurt myself because the trauma was there from childhood. He'd been hurt by somebody else, and that was like involuntary, right? Where he was raped or molested or something like that, right? And so what he was doing is, rather than deal with that, is that he created another trauma equal to that of his choosing, drugs and stuff like that. So that gave him a sense of control, because initially what happened to him was outside of his control. And so to gain control and I guess self-esteem back is that, like, at least I'm choosing my pain, at least I'm choosing my trauma, and I'm in control of, well, it might not seem like control, but at least he's controlling where the trauma's coming from. So in that headspace like that makes you feel good in a way, that you're dealing with the old trauma, but you're really not. You're replacing it with another trauma, And so it was very, very, very interesting, and it made me look at trauma and the journey that I went on. Like when I broke my back and I couldn't exercise much, and I got really, really depressed. I was obviously very anxious about the future, because everything I'd worked for 20 years had kind of gone down the drain, and it was a very, very tough time. And it just made me aware and appreciate, like, the journey that I've had now about how I control how hard I train. I still enjoy training. I've still got it written in my diary what I should do, but if I'm, I can moderate it now, and I've had to, I said to a friend the other day who, is having some stuff go on, and he's continually just like destroying his body, getting re-injured, destroying his body, getting re-injured. And I just said, like, you're going to have to, like, let go of that part of your brain. Like, you're going to, loves jiu-jitsu and training and stuff, but like, you're just not going to be able to train. You're still a young guy. If you want to do jiu-jitsu for the next 50, 60 years and enjoy the people that are in it and all that, you're going to have to, like, pull back on the intensity of that and not use fighting and weightlifting and whatever else they do, and doing it to the extreme. David Goggins and Cam Hanes and stuff are heroes of his, and so as they are for many people, but those are also people who are deeply troubled and choosing their trauma, who have been through a lot of trauma and choosing something that they see as a very positive thing instead of a negative thing. You know, Cam Hayden's dad died was an alcoholic, so he obviously has the genetics for that and feels that drive, and to like beat that drive down, like he has to train like 10 hours a day to like beat that down, but he's so determined not to become an alcoholic, not to become that person, and to become successful, which he clearly is, you know. But I also wonder, like, what's it going to be like when he can't do that, you know? Like, well, you've amassed all your millions, but you're just going to like succumb to it one day. You're going to kill yourself. Are you going to, what's going to happen? I worry about Goggins in the same way, you know, that this body dysmorphia thing going on from childhood, and it's still a reaction to trauma. You're not trauma free. Yeah, you're not trauma free, and it still controls you, even if you're choosing to do something excessive to overcome it, which you see as a positive way of using the trauma and dysfunctional feelings inside you. Like, it's still controlling you and it's still destroying you, just in a different way. So, you know, my journey's been very interesting, and I'm glad to say that probably for the first time in my life that I have control over what I do training wise. You know, when I was in my 20s and 30s and even 40s sometimes, you know, like if I had a rest day, the next day I would have so much energy from it that I would literally go out and injure myself regardless of what I was doing. If I was going running, I'd run for 3-4 hours. My original students in Brunswick will tell you, in Melbourne, I used to run like for, I don't know, over 2 hours. I would run from the city and I would go knock on everybody's doors at like 7 a.m. or whatever to remind them all to come to class, because at that stage there was only like 10 guys. So I'd run around all their houses all around Melbourne and knock on their door and remind them to be in class in a couple of hours time. And then by the time I get back, I'd have a shower and get ready to teach the class. It was crazy. You know, I still enjoy running, obviously. But anyway, so that's like my little message for today, which is, you know, is your trauma, are you really dealing with it? You know, are you covering it up with drugs and alcohol? Are you covering it up with excessive exercise and still calling it a win? It's something to really think about, and to also like true control is to be able to moderate that. Yeah, not to just have a knee-jerk reaction. I feel bad, I feel all these negative feelings, I'm feeling very anxious, I have to go like massacre myself. Yeah, right? So the bad feelings come in, the anxiety is there. Go for a walk in the forest so that there's some movement. You know, that helps like dissipate the anxiety, because anxiety is your body moving like this. Hence why, you know, generally nervous people are kind of skinny and lean, right? Minor motor tremor stuff. So like go out for a walk in the forest. You know, do something but not excessive. You know, go out and walk a little bit so your body calms down a little bit, and you'll start getting some low-level endorphins going, but nothing crazy, nothing that's going to make you feel, oh, I'm amazing, because that's bollocks, right? It's not true. You're covering it up. So you go out, go for a walk in the forest. Some of the feelings will come up. You'll have enough serotonin and endorphins there just to like allow you to relax. Now I can kind of deal with and have a look at reasonably with a clear head, you know, what's really going on, you know, how do I really truly feel about it, you know, and try to figure out how you really truly feel about it. Even that can be a mission, you know, because we're still guided by trauma a lot of the time. Is that you know, things that were successful for us in the past, mechanisms of survival that we developed to escape a domestic violence situation, or often it's removing yourself from a painful situation like that. So, you know, developing the power and the anger and the frustration, and finally having enough to then like get yourself the energy and the anxiety and the anger to like get yourself out of the house, to get hold of the kids and go to somewhere safe, to make that decision. If you were empathic and depressed, you probably wouldn't have the power and energy to do that. But the anger, like that's useful energy, and that will get you out of the house and get you somewhere safe to help. And then you can kind of rebuild your life. But then it's really common, and I know I've been guilty of this, is that then you're still exhibiting that behavior because like that's kind of almost the new you that you've got used to. And it felt good, it felt empowering, and it was successful, you know. But a few years have gone by, and now you're kind of feeling a bit lonely, and you're like, well, maybe I'll have a look around and like open myself up to the idea of having a relationship. And then you wonder why the relationship doesn't work, because like you haven't really healed, and the behavior that you used to get you out of that, it was survival escape behavior, then that doesn't really work in trying to create a loving, warm, open, vulnerable place to have a relationship. So it's being aware of that and feeling those feelings when they come up and realizing where they come from. It's quite a journey, and I'm on it the same as everybody else. So I just thought I'd share those words of wisdom that I thought came up in the Theo Von podcast the other day, made me think about some things, and kind of share them with you. And maybe they resonate, maybe they don't, maybe it helps somebody, maybe it doesn't. It's all good. Have a good day.